Hello and what is up guys, Rye here and welcome back to some more automation and BeamNG.Drive. So we're building ourselves a special SUV today. It's going to be a super SUV. This thing is going to be competing against the likes of the Lamborghini Urus. I guess the Aston Martin DBX is kind of like a super SUV, the Trackhawk Jeep, and a bunch of other things like the GLE 63S, the X5M competition, and so on and so on. It's going to be a very powerful, or I guess the RSQ8, that's another one. But very powerful, pretty heavy, pretty chunky, full-size or full-size-ish sedan. And this is a mod body, and this is such a good-looking SUV body. This is the kind of bodies that automation needs in their game. I wish they had more modern bodies like this. So we're going to start off just with partial aluminum. Wait, why is this 1940s? Oh, well, we're going to ignore that, I guess. Partial aluminum for the panels. We're going to go monocoque on the chassis. Light AHS steel or just AHS? We'll do just AHS for now. The goal is like the mid 4,000 pounds, so it's going to be pretty light, hopefully. This is going to be sort of styled after some previous cars, my Blackwood cars, which I'll show on later in the video. Front mounted, you can do rear engine? Oh my god. Oh my god, that'd be awful. Double wishbone and double wishbone sound multi-link. Yeah, that sounds fancy enough for me. It's going to be an expensive SUV for sure. We'll do a VA. Now, do we want 60 or 90 degree? I kind of want 60. No. I kind of want 60 just for like, just for weirdness. ALSI, 4-valve. We can go for VVL on this one, I think. We're going to go, I think, for also a 5 or so. 4.8 liter sounds kind of interesting. So Mercedes-Benz has a 4 liter. BMW is a 4.4. And we'll go a little bit over that. We'll go to 4.8 for now. I might change it to 5 liter. I mean, Jeep has a 7. Is it not a 7 liter? 6.2 liter. Aston Martin is a 4 liter, Lamborghini is a 4 liter. Yeah. Okay. So billet steel, no, we'll go for forged, heavy duty forged, and forged for now. We're gonna go to 10:1 compression. We'll make a pretty high VVL profile. We'll leave this cam profile at 40. VVT all cams, and of course, it's gotta be twin turbo charge, because what else do you really do? We'll go for like 700. On the intercooler, twin direct injection performance, and premium fuel. This thing is gonna be an expensive fast boy. It needs that premium fuel, obviously. 100 ignition timing for now. We'll go for dual exhaust, high flow. We'll go for a reverse flow and a straight through. This is going to be more of a sporty or luxury. We'll do the luxury side. It'll be pretty quiet. It's only got, this is the quietest. Only 27.5 loudness, which is very, very quiet. Increase the exhaust a bit more, and we'll lower down the ignition timing to a reasonable amount now. Okay, so 60 ignition timing brings us to about 470 on horsepower, which is not horrible, but we'll just increase the rev limiter. What, 7,000, which is 7,500? Which is pretty high, actually. Okay, 8,000 it is, which is, we're still making power. This is a nice and flat top curve. It kicks in decently low, 3,000 RPM or so, which is not horrible. Obviously, there's like not modern turbos, so they're not perfect. We can even go higher on the revs if we wanted to, but we're going to increase the fuel just a bit more. We're 22% engine efficiency. We'll go for a bit higher on the boost, down to about 16. So 490 horsepower. A bit bigger on the intercooler, and we'll change the AR ratio just a bit to make a bit later power. And we'll go a little lower on the ignition timing. What I'll do, I'll tinker around with this a bit more, because it's not perfect yet. 550, 560, 570, 580. This is a massive, this is a 5-inch exhaust. We do not have straight-through mufflers, though. We could go for per cylinder. That'd be a little more expensive, but it'll be a little better, just a little better in some ways. We can go for, I like how the cam profile and the VVL profile is nice and set up. It works fine. We're at max octane right here. A little more on the fuel. Just a bit more probably. I think over 600 horsepower is like ideal. Because some things, the cars that we're competing against, so the Trackhawk's got 707. The GLE 63S is like, what, 600 horsepower or so? Just about 600 horsepower. The X5M competition is like 615. The Urus has, again, it's all similar horsepower, 600 and something. I think they're all in and around 600 or more horsepower. 640 for the Urus. The Aston Martin's 550, so it's a bit down in power, but it's a bit more luxurious, etc. So I think 606 is a good starting place. We'll shoot for about 650 or 700 horsepower. It's meant to compete against those things. It might not beat it, but you know what? It's gonna darn well compete. We'll go to the design tab now. We are gonna do not these disgusting bodies, because this is like terrible excuse for an SUV. If you guys actually like these coupe SUVs, then my gosh, I'm sorry. I don't like them at all. Now, what's the difference here? We got this one. Okay, wait, that's a two-door. Interesting. We're definitely going for the 4-door because this is a full-size SUV, all-wheel drive. 7-speed dual clutch sounds reasonable. And we'll go for a slightly rear bias for now. Now, I have made a super SUV before, never on a video and well over a year ago. And I think popped wheelies, even with all-wheel drive, it was absolutely perfect. For 22s. Alloys for now. Vented 6-piston discs. We could go carbon ceramics, but I think the Ursus carbon ceramics, we don't need that right now. Fully clad under tray. We'll go for a 4-seater, I think. This is going to be a luxury SUV. It's going to be like a flagship luxury. There's so much you can do with this body. My gosh. Go for luxury or sport. We'll go for sport and premium HUD. And then we'll go for electric variable. Launch control and the best safety possible, as always. Progressive, semi-active, and we'll go for air suspension. Because a little fancier. 18.5 mpg. 40 comfort's not terrible. It is a utility sport luxury and a muscle premium. I'll take those. And a grand touring car. That's... okay, I'll take that. 0-60 in the low 3 seconds, which is pretty darn wild, not gonna lie. 3.2 seconds. And it'll be a little faster. I was shooting for like 3.5 actually. We're already at 3.2. It is quite light, 4,550 pounds or so. Obviously, we can probably even go for just steel. Because whatever, it's a little heavier. That's doable. Partial aluminum was what it would have anyways. The cost, only $70,000 for this performance. Which is pretty impressive. Like, the 0-60 is, like 70 grand competes against, like, what, an actual, not even an M5. It's way cheaper than an M5, I think. It's really cheap, my gosh. Like, the performance in this thing, it's actually quite light. It's a little heavier than a Ford Mustang. Ford Mustang is like 4,400 pounds even? Like, this is pretty light, guys. This is pretty light. It is a 4-seater only, though, even though it's a full-size SUV. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to tune the engine a bit more. I'm going to shape the body. I'm going to design the car in a short time lapse. And after that, we are going to go over it. And we're going to do some pretty cool stuff, I think, in BeamNG.Drive today. I have a few cool things, ideas in my head for BeamNG.Drive, so stay tuned for that. Sit back, relax, guys, and I hope you enjoy this quick time lapse. And we are starting the build for my super sport, kind of luxury-ish SUV. The first things first is the front end, and I want to have, it's a similar sort of blocked off headlights and taillights. But quickly, you'll notice I do change the body to the Porsche Cayenne body, because the body I've chosen before, the mod body, is a bit broken. The UV mesh is broken, so you can't really place fixtures like dog tape and stuff properly. So we stuck with this Porsche body here. I've got this sort of top and bottom section for the front grille. The top is similar to, I guess, a Ford Explorer-ish, with the slightly larger grille and slightly smaller rectangular headlights, with a sort of daytime running light just underneath, with sort of a Thor's hammer or a T shape going into the lower grille. We have a logo on the middle now. That's just sort of a placeholder for now, while I'm playing around with the front end, like the headlight glass, and some more details for the front, the front bottom grille, I guess is what that is. Not too much needs to be going in the front. The front, it's a pretty simple thing. We have a bit of a front cladding underneath the grille as well, which gets changed later on to a bit more aggressive. Adding a light bar across the entire top of the headlights after that, and working on the grille a bit more as well. You guys will notice that this is a very fast time lapse. This whole build was over over 3.5 hours, I guess, 3 hours and 45 minutes approximately. It's almost a 4-hour build compressed into a rather short time. Toying around with the engine and stuff now as well, and shaping out the rear headlights, similar to, I guess, Range Rover-ish headlights, or a Range Rover-ish rear end with some Ford Explorer. I think some Kia styling elements as well in there. I didn't really look at anything Ford design besides a Range Rover. I just looked at that and then added some styling elements from other cars that I knew, with a quad taillight or quad exhaust outlet at the bottom, pretty much 2 dual exhausts slashed in half, with a similar rear DRL or daytime running light, I guess, to the front headlights, which gets changed from a double to a single shortly. Flying around again, a T shape on the bottom. Next, just above the actual exhaust outlets, there is the sort of similar Thor's hammer shape. Adding Blackwood badging to the back, which is the brand for this vehicle. And working on a side vent just a little bit, tweaking with some things here or there. Adding a bit of detail to the back, adding an FTL badge. And the name, of course, is up top on the left, the Briarstone. Adding the actual main headlights itself and the main taillights, putting some clear glass over top of all of that stuff just to make it all look nice and pretty. Then lastly, I'm going to work on a bit of the badging on the side here to add the actual Briarstone car name. And I just have it actually embossed with some sort of 3D font. Adding a blacked out, or basically a pretty much see-through D-pillar. And in front of us is the 2020 Blackwood Briarstone FTL. Alright guys, so the SUV or Super SUV or Sports SUV, whatever you want to call it, it's right in front of us, the Briarstone FTL. FTL stands for Faster Than Light. Don't ask why that is their performance, like, sport model moniker, but it is. That is the Blackwood way, and it has been for previous cars I've made under this brand. The back end, I think it needs like one more badge right here. Could probably use a Briarstone badge, but that's okay. That's okay. The back end's not perfect. The front end, I didn't really base it off too much. It's got some similar design elements from like a Ford Explorer previous generation, a Range Rover, etc., and a few other things here and there as well. The side, it's very basic, just has a Briarstone badge on the side. I was gonna do like this big vent indentation and stuff with the Briarstone badge, like sort of like Lincoln has with like where this is the Nautilus, the Aviator, etc. But yeah, no. 22-inch rims. Well, actually, the wheels, the brakes look tiny. I'm gonna make them larger just for looks because they're a little small, just for looks. The back end, I like the back end a lot though, besides this bottom area. I love the quad exhaust outlet that's actually fake. Where does the exhaust even come out to? Yeah, that's fine. It comes out right from the middle. That's okay. And we have this wraparound window, which looks super cool from afar. I think it looks hella cool, and up close from the back it looks fine as well. Yeah, this front end took me a long time to make. This car design took me like 2 or 3 hours to design probably. I made a lot of it in Discord with the help from Max J35, and just hang it out in Discord. I want to do more builds again in the future in Discord, so join the Discord. Link is in the description. We're going to hop into BeamNG.Drive. This thing makes 655 horses now and 680 pound-feet of torque. It's a lot of horsepower, a lot of torque. We are going to race. I think it is the BMW X3 equivalent in BeamNG. It's a mod body, or a mod vehicle, and we're going to race a very high-powered version of that. It's got less horsepower, but it's similar 0 to 60. We're going to race that and see which one comes out on top. Almost a 50-50 weight distribution, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so we'll hop into BeamNG. I'll see you guys there in just 1 second. Alright guys, so we are finally in BeamNG.Drive with the Blackwood Briarstone FTL. And to the left we have, I think it's the ETK 1300. ETK 1300 series. This is the 1356 TT Sport Plus. This is basically a sport BMW X3 kind of competitor. 0 to 60 in the high 3 seconds. Ours is about 3.1 is what it's rated for. They've got much less horsepower, just 338 PS, 338 PS. Of power, which I think is like 330 or so. Like it's in the 300s of horsepower if I'm not mistaken. It's not a ton of horsepower. The torque is also less as well, but this thing is quite a bit lighter than our vehicle. Also a top speed of 295 kilometers an hour, which is incredibly high for top speeds. This is of course the drag strip. This is the Briarwood Black, so we've got about 655 horse and 680 torque versus like 330 horse. And I think 300 and high 300 torque. That's a 3-liter straight 6 turbocharged engine versus a 4.8-liter twin turbocharged V8. We're gonna do a drag race first off. We'll do it in third person. The car actually sounds pretty badass in BeamNG. This is like a luxury hyper sedan or hyper SUV. It actually transferred over like 90% to looking awesome. Back end's not perfect because the light bar looks kind of weird, but that's okay. We're gonna line ourselves up here. And go in manual mode. We'll do a bit of a launch. Do a little closer. And a little more. There we go. So we're gonna launch here. You can see here, he keeps up pretty darn well. Right next to us. And we lose him only off the line. So because he's quite a bit lighter. His 0 to 60 is way higher than mine too. Mine's supposed to be 3.1 versus his 3.8. Or 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, so it's a bit more than 60. So it's not too far off. Finished a quarter mile in 11.55 versus 11.9. At 115 miles an hour versus 120 miles an hour. So that's pretty quick. That's pretty. Is it miles an hour or kilometers an hour? I don't even know actually at this point. We're gonna hop into quickly. We're gonna go to an actual drag race, just solo, because why not do a solo drag race? Okay, we're here now. Hops and bangs. We're gonna do a launch here. We're gonna do. We'll use ESC on here. So what 0 to 60 in the low 3 seconds range it looked like. That was like 3.2 seconds. That was not bad at all. And 190 kilometers an hour. Yeah, definitely not 120. I think 120 miles an hour. So 0 to 6 or 11.3, which is not bad. We'll give it one quick retry here without ESC on, and we'll see just if it does any better. Probably not, but that's okay. The gearing is a bit short for gears. Third's a little too short, I think. But we're not geared for crazy high top speed anyways. Not bad. 11.3. I'll take that. 11.3. It is a bit wafty driving around. What we're going to do is we're going to have two screens basically side by side here. And we're going to see which one is faster on the track. The ETK on the track or this thing. I've heard the ETK is not that great. So we are now at the automation test track, and I just like to get like a time here to see sort of what this thing could do on the automation test track. We're about 5,000 pounds, 655 or so horsepower, which is not too bad at all. And we're just going to see what this thing can do out on the track. We're going to go into ESC off. We'll go into first person for this run, I think. Because it's easier to handle with first person. We're going to braking here. We are quite heavy though, so the biggest problem is going to be, of course, handling the weight. And a bit of body roll, not going to lie. We're all-wheel drive, but definitely a bit of a rear bias. Oh yeah, high-speed cornering it's got body roll. This thing is basically a tank on wheels. I want to try the ETK 1300 series around this after real quick. Oh my gosh, it is not like that at all. Okay, we'll restart that. I'm not even gonna cut that out. My gosh. Yeah, lack of grip is a thing apparently. It's just so heavy. Well, we don't have crazy big tires because it's still in the realm of realism for tire size. And on throttle here, we'll stay a little bit softer on the throttle this time. A little less. There we go. That was better. That was way better. Now, the ETK, yeah, again, it's got a 3-liter straight 6. This has got a 4.8-liter twin-turbo V8. Not the best again. We'll hold it this time. Down a second here, stay in second. The gearing is a little too short, though. I could have been a bit better. I'll have the link for the download in the description if you guys want to download this car. To be the entire Beam mod, so you can take the car just in BeamNG, or you can play around with it in automation. There's a lot of fixtures to use yet again. I just want to mention, it took a long time to build this one. It was going to come out yesterday, this video, but it didn't. And boy, oh boy, it's very quick in the straights. It keeps pulling and pulling. 230 kilometers an hour, which is pretty impressive. We'll stay in 6th. Lay off it just a little bit, though. There we go, back on 6th. It is at a reasonable time. I feel like we're going to brake a little early here. And the power... No. That's fine. That's okay. I'll take that. I'll take it. I'll take it. It wasn't perfect. I'll give it that. It doesn't drive straight anymore. Gosh darn it. Everything's fine. I've got no problems here. Down to 3rd. Yeah, it doesn't drive great. But then again, it's a 5,000 pounds. It's like a 2.5-ton SUV. It's not an ideal power-to-weight ratio, for sure. I think it's gotta be heavier than some of the competitors. Like the Aston Martin DBX has gotta be lighter. The Urus has gotta be lighter for sure. The RSQ8 as well. I think the only thing heavier is probably the Bentayga or the Rolls-Royce Cullinan, which the Cullinan's not really geared towards being sporty at all, whereas the Bentayga got a little bit of a sporty flair to it, but it's not that sporty. Oh boy, it is just sketchy to drive now. Not an awful time, under 220, which I'll take. Now the ETK, it's like a 216, 215.6 is not actually horrible. So now we're in the ETK 1356 TT Sport Plus again. And we're gonna launch this thing in first gear in the automation test track to see if it can keep up to the Blackwood Briarstone FTL. Man, right off the bat here, it's actually pretty quick. The blow-off valve sounds awesome. I love there's like a boost gauge in the bottom too, on the actual gauge cluster. I'm using a steering wheel for those of you guys wondering. But this car just is very weird. There's not much grip on the 4 wheels. It's like, it does some 4-wheel slidey stuff. We're going to brake a little bit here. 4-wheel slide still, even though we came in there pretty slow. Down a second, down to 1st. Over the curb, which is okay. We're launching it again. Not bad so far. It is keeping up, I think, pretty well to the Briarstone's time. "46 seconds in the first checkpoint." It's not bad. It's not bad. I wish the mirrors worked. I wish the mirrors worked with everything. But, you know, it could be worse. Do 30 in the straight, which is a little slower than the Briarstone, I feel like. Slow down just a bit more to 210, which is a little disappointing. We're going this wide. I think we're going to do a bit of braking. There we go. A little slidey. Oh boy. It is not a fan of braking at all. Wow, that was a little sad though. Like, I feel like the tires aren't even connected to the body. It just feels a little weird. It's a little weird to drive, not gonna lie. It doesn't feel... It feels like it's braking super fast, but when you're actually at the corner, it's not braking at all. It ain't braking. Stay in 4th for a second and 5th. The blow-off valve sounds kind of cool, but kind of weird at the same time. It can sound good. Look at this. Weird. You really gotta stop before you turn on this thing, or else you just go to the 4-wheel slide. It is a bit slower, but I think the cost for this thing would be a lot less. It's only got a 6-cylinder engine. This is like an X3 competitor versus my basically X5M competition competitor. If my car had a... Like, maybe I can make like a 3-liter straight 6 version that's like a sporty, you know, not a top-end sport model, but like an X3 fighter. It's not bad. I'll take a 221 with a bit of failures here and there. Brakes overheating. It's definitely not a track weapon. Not a horrible time. It could be better. We're not going to just... Oh, not retry. Gosh darn it, that was the wrong thing. We're going to hop into 3rd person. This thing looks really good, though. This mod looks awesome. Definitely has a bit of a X3, almost an X5 vibe, but it's only a 6-cylinder with quad exhaust, which I really wish they had a V8 with this. Or I wish, like, yeah, I wish there's an option for V8, but that's okay. That's okay. Looks pretty good, though. It looks like nice. The blinkers. Oh, they're right there. Okay, just got like a DRL. Interesting. Interesting. We're not going to restart that again. But yeah, it did pretty good. I'm not sure if these differentials that were partially locked had a big difference, but we'll see. We'll see. Only one of my turn signals actually works. Weird. Okay. So that was the ETK 1300 series, as well as the Blackwood Briarstone FTL luxury sedan, super sedan, or luxury SUV, super SUV thingamajigger. Download is in the description if you guys want to check this out. Join the Discord, linked in the description. I'm going to do more of my builds in there. We got some more BeamNG stuff coming up as well, so subscribe for more BeamNG. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.